Today, we fly high like an eagle, where the air is rare. Let's drink some whiskey. Welcome to Whiskey and Whiskey. I'm the Whiskey Chaser Brian here in Christy's Bar, Kilkenny. I hope your day is awesome. And what an awesome little video I have lined up for you. Taking a break from the Irish whiskey as we do every once in a while, jumping on the bourbon bandwagon, and why not another bourbon with a bit of quality history to it. This is Eagle Rare Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Minimum age statement of 10 years right here. And for some of the prices I found on the good old internet here in Ireland, prove to vary. You're looking at roughly 40 euros right up to 60 euros on the high end. Now, that's all well and good for here in good old Ireland, but stateside, this has an MSRP of about $30. So yeah, we're paying more for it. What else is new? This has won a serious amount of awards. Too many to actually mention on the show, so I'm going to leave a link below to where you can check that out for yourself. In your own time, of course. We aren't going to let that influence us in any way, shape, or form, right? Right? You're goddamn right we're not. Originally produced by a company called Seagram and introduced in 1975 to the whiskey world, it became a brand name under the Buffalo Trace Distillery in 1985 to where it is still produced these days and in very limited quantities, I'm told. Now, when it was originally produced, it was bottled at 101 proof, and that bottling has since been discontinued since 2005, and all of the current bottlings are now at 90 proof, or about 45% ABV. That's not too bad for a 10-year-old bourbon. Now, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty and talk a little bit about mash bills, then this is said to have the same mash bill as E.H. Taylor Small Batch that I reviewed a while ago. I'll leave a link below for you to check it out over here. But that mash bill will be mash bill number 1, which is Buffalo Trace's lower rye mash bill. Other whiskeys I believe to be included in this mash bill are Buffalo Trace itself and Stag Junior, I think. It's common knowledge that Buffalo Trace are extremely secretive about their mash bills, so a speculated mash bill of 75% corn, 10% rye, and 15% wheat is what I found to be a conservative guess as to what the mash bill might be. Now, in the past, it did used to be a single barrel bourbon, but that has all since changed when the machine bottling lines came into use instead of it being hand bottled. And the label here says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, which if you watched my E.H. Taylor review, you would know that means to be classified as Kentucky Straight Bourbon, the guidelines of straight bourbon must be adhered to, in addition to having been distilled and aged for at least 1 year in Kentucky, which is wonderful. But what does straight bourbon mean? Well, to be classified as straight bourbon, it has to conform to all the guidelines for bourbon and be aged in that charred oak container, special word there, for at least 2 years. If it's aged less than 4 years, an age statement must appear on the label. Tremendous. So what are the guidelines for bourbon then? Firstly, bourbon is legally protected under Title 27 of the Code of Federal Regulations as acknowledged in 1964 by the US Congress. To be recognized as bourbon, the following must be met. Must be made in the United States, any state, not just Kentucky. Must be made of at least 51% corn. Must be distilled at no higher than 160 proof. Must be barreled at no higher than 125 proof. Must be put in a new charred oak container, not necessarily a barrel. And there's absolutely no food coloring whatsoever allowed in bourbon, period. Now, you can consider yourself up to speed on all the specifics. Shall we have a drink? Before we do, and if you haven't already, I kindly ask that you check it out and subscribe to the channel and show the chaser a tiny bit of love by clicking the thumbs up icon and making certain you have the notifications turned on for when my videos launch. And you know what, even if you don't have the notifications turned on, it's all good. Don't worry, baby. I don't even know if that makes a difference, to be honest with you. Just keep up to date with the channel videos as some cool stuff coming. We'll keep her lit. Okay, so my favorite part, we're onto the whiskey. This is a 10-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon that has spent the entirety of its life in virgin American white oak. Bottled at 45% ABV or 90 proof, and I can get a bottle for 40 euro. It's not really bad value, actually. Ooh, let's get stuck in. In more recent times, I'm becoming very partial to a nice bourbon. I don't know, did you check out some of the more recent videos that I've done on a few specials, but I have to say I'm impressed. And this is pretty awesome. That is so good. Wow. Okay, so there's an incredibly sweet honey note coming through to it, and with that you get your caramel, your toffee. Comes across as very rich with a nice bit of complexity. There's a lovely bit of kind of woody notes coming through there at the end. Little bit of orange citrus. And like a hint, you're getting from the bourbon barrel, from the wood, you're kind of getting that hint of like a dark fruits note, maybe like a date or a raisin. You know what? It's got some really nice woody undertones to it as well. Very rich, a lot of vanilla, very creamy. Funnily enough, there's not a whole lot of spice happening. It's there, but I'm getting more of those kind of lovely woody fruits and creamy notes. And yeah, the nose is pretty spectacular. Even getting a little bit of a wood or a nutty note at the end of it there. Let's have a little sip, as we say, sláinte in Ireland. Wow, quite oily, very mouth coating. Oak spices coming through a lot more than it would suggest on the nose. Really lush woody notes. Touch on the dry side, and a tiny little hint of bitterness, but you know what? Those woody notes really take over. Light white pepper spice. That dark fruity vibe is still there, but it's not a date or a raisin. I can't put my finger on it. Very juicy, nicely layered, complex. The finish is a touch of a buttery note. The spice tapers off quickly, but leaves the tongue kind of just warm, nicely warm. You know, your woody notes are coming through. There's a hint of that nuttiness, the vanilla. All right, okay. Got my attention. Certainly I would say it has developed a little bit, quite a complex finish to it. So I think that my biggest problem with this whiskey is how exactly am I going to sneak it into the house? Because at this stage, I will literally be shot if I bring home any more whiskey or order any more whiskey, have it delivered to the house. But this could be worth getting shot for. This is an everyday drinker. That ticks so much off on a list for me. Flavor, complexity, value, age statement. ABV isn't bad either. I'm gonna have to give this one 2 thumbs up. Really enjoyed it. And definitely going to have to get one for the shelf at home. I'll sneak it in whatever way I can, but to be very, very honest, it's very, very delicious. And for 40 euros, I don't think you could go wrong. It's an all-rounder, one might say. Do let me know if you've had this bourbon and what your thoughts were on it. Does it deserve a place on everybody's everyday drinker's shelf that I like to say? Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I'm intrigued. I loved it. So unfortunately, that's all I got for you today. Thanks to the lads here at Christy's for hooking me up with a sample of this outstanding whiskey. As always, all thoughts are my own and I'm not influenced by any outside parties. I'll see you all again next week for another fresh video on some awesome whiskey. Chaser out. Sláinte.